Here to update some information regarding the officer-involved shooting that we had yesterday. At 9:20 yesterday morning, a 911 call was received from the Academy Sports located at 11,900 Atlantic Boulevard. Management from the store called 911 in reference to a male who had entered their store carrying a shotgun. It is the Academy Sports policy to not allow open carrying of firearms in the store. They sell firearms from that store. They service firearms there. It's a normal course of their business that people will bring firearms in. It's their policy not to allow these people to open carry guns inside the store. A male and a female entered the store carrying an open shotgun. He was stopped at the front door by employees and advised of the policy that he would need to check the gun and carry it back to the firearms section. At that point in time, the male refused to comply. The subject asked the suspect if the gun was loaded. He replied that it was and continued on to the store. It was at that point in time that the employees called 911 to pass on what the information was. Their concern was his demeanor as he walked to the store, really not refusing to comply. Walks back into the gun section. A second employee who works in the gun section came out and confronted that male at that time, advising him that he had to take the gun from him, that he couldn't have the open gun in the store. At that point in time, the male again refused to comply, refused to give up the gun. Told them that if they took the gun, that he would blow their heads off. Again, all this information was being relayed through 911 to the sheriff's office. They stayed on the phone with 911. In order to facilitate them exiting the store as fast as possible, they allowed them to complete the transaction. They had purchased some shotgun ammunition and 7.62 ammunition, went to the front of the store. They opened a lane for them, quickly got them out of the store. Again, the entire time keeping on phone with 911. I really need to commend the Academy Sports folks for their actions in this case. It was their quick thinking and their store policies, I believe, that really allowed this to not escalate inside the store. They didn't know for sure at this point in time that shotgun that he carried in that store was loaded, and there was no apparent need that we know now that he would have taken that shotgun at the store. So the fast thinking and actions to allow him to exit the store without a real big confrontation really prevented some things, and I'll go into that a little bit more with where their thoughts were at the time. Again, they stayed on 911, relaying information of the suspect's clothing, the vehicle which the suspects entered, which was a white Ford pickup truck. They stayed on the phone the entire time. That information was passed to 911, and from 911 passed to the responding officers. As the responding officers had come into the parking lot, the suspect passed one of the officers, and another officer stopped at the entrance as the truck was passing by. Ordered the driver of the truck, which was a white female, to stop. She refused to stop and continued on to exit the store. As the truck turned in front of the officer, the rear sliding window pickup truck opened. The male who was in the passenger seat stuck a revolver out the back window and fired once at the officer. That officer, who was armed with his issued firearm, which is a rifle, fired 7 times at the truck. The truck continued out the driveway exit and westbound onto Atlantic Boulevard, where it stopped just a short distance up Atlantic Boulevard. The female was taken out, and Jacskonville Fire Rescue was called for the male subject. He was announced dead at the scene by Jacksonville Fire Rescue. The female was taken into custody and brought down to the sheriff's office for questioning. The officer is 44-year-old Officer Brad Hudson. He's a 17-year police veteran and a 22-year Jacksonville Sheriff's Office veteran. He spent some time in corrections before returning to the street as an officer. The subject was shot multiple times in his upper body. As the day progressed, our investigation learned that the subject and the girl, they lived and worked from an Atlantic self-storage on Mayport Road. She was experiencing some employment issues there at the store. They were in the process of terminating her. She refused to actually go to one of the meetings for termination. But at 8:55 in the morning, they sent a threatening email to the owner of the Atlantic self-storage that they lived and worked from. The email was very threatening not only the employee, their family, their family's homes. They made threats to Beaches police departments and any law enforcement officer and anybody who stood in their way. They would basically take out or kill. It's fortunate that the officers were where they were at the time. These subjects, I'm not sure exactly what their intent was. Obviously, to know his intent, we'll never know. She was cooperative, but they went in to purchase ammunition, continue on shortly thereafter. Within 20 minutes of sending this threatening email, threatening all kinds of people's lives, they actually went out, purchased ammunition, probably the first place that they could find it, and who knows where they were going from there. So it's a tragic event, but it's fortunate that the officers were there to kind of prevent who knows what from happening at that point in time. In the truck, there were a total of 3 guns. The one shotgun that he carried into the store, it was loaded. He also had the handgun that he used for shooting at the officer in a holster concealed as he went into the store. So he actually went into that Academy of Sports carrying 2 loaded guns, again, with an intention of doing what? The female was cooperative, discussed the email, discussed some of the demeanor that the subject had in the months preceding yesterday's shooting. He is not actually fully identified, but thought to be 56-year-old Leslie Callow. Now, he is from Texas. He has not been positively identified yet. He has no local criminal record, was only stopped one time and confronted or spoken with by officers in 2006, and that was just a field contact that we had with him. The female is 51-year-old Tammy Lynn Gill, G-I-L-L, and she is from Arizona. The 2 of them met several years ago on the internet and moved over to Jackskonville, where they lived and worked out of this Atlantic self-storage. She was charged yesterday with fleeing and attempting to elude, carrying a concealed firearm, as there was a .22 handgun in the pistol, or excuse me, in the truck that was next to her, and as well as the fleeing and attempting to elude and making the written threats from the email that she had sent immediately preceding going to the store. I can answer a few questions from this. Again, this is still an ongoing investigation. We're still learning things as we go along, but if there are some questions, I can answer.
Did all 7 bullets from Officer Hudson's firearm hit the pickup truck?
Yes, all 7 rounds struck the pickup truck.
Was he in his vehicle or outside?
He was outside of his vehicle. As the truck passed him, he ordered them to stop. They refused to stop. And as the truck continued around, the subject put the gun out the back window, fired at him, and then fired back.
And the 3rd gun, it was a shotgun, a handgun. What was the 3rd?
The 3rd gun was a .22 pistol. Again, that's what was basically concealed with her. It was next to her in the pickup truck, so she was charged with that gun as well.
How many bullets actually hit the subject?
Still looking through that yet. An autopsy has not been conducted on him, so we won't know that until later. But he was hit multiple times in the upper body.
Upper body in the neck by chance?
Just in the upper body is about all I can say.
So Gail, the lady was in the process of being terminated. She worked at the Atlantic Self-Storage, that relationship there.
Yeah, she was actually an employee at the Atlantic Self-Storage on Mayport Road. Was in the process of being terminated then. They lived actually at a separate Atlantic Self-Storage on Atlantic Boulevard. Usually these are in-residence type jobs that they have. She didn't particularly live at the one she worked at, but lived at another one. Again, was going through some termination process with that company. And yesterday, again at 8:55, they fired off this threatening email. And, I guess began whatever they're going to do.
Did they contact you? Did the employees contact you? Did they feel as if their lives were in danger or take it seriously?
It's not clear at this point in time. I mean, this email was sent roughly about 20 minutes before the 911 call was received from Academy of Sports, so it's not even sure whether this was actually opened and read by Atlantic Self-Storage at that time, because you had such a short window.
Did her employer ever tell you of any previous issues of threats or mental instability or anything of concern?
They've been cooperative with us, and there has been some indication that obviously that there's been issues with them to lead to the termination.
Issues such
without
as?
going into detail.
Chief, how much ammunition did they have? Did they have a bunch? Did they purchase a bunch?
Keep in mind that they purchased 2 boxes of 7.62 ammunition and 3 boxes of shotgun ammunition. Both of the handguns in the truck were loaded, so theoretically they had obviously enough to do some potential harm.
Did he have a concealed weapons permit to have those guns?
No, neither one had any kind of concealed weapons permit for the guns that they were carrying.
How come there's a tentative identification of Leslie Callan? Could you spell that for us?
C-O-W-A-N is his last name. His first name is thought to be L-E-S-L-E-Y. We checked his fingerprints. He didn't have any local records. Checked his fingerprints through FBI. Didn't come back with any records as well. Looking through some of his paperwork, we've not had real strong success with finding anything that would positively identify him.
Did Ms. Gill say that it was their intention to go back to the self-storage after they purchased the ammunition, or did they?
She was somewhat vague with what they were going to do for the rest of the day. Again, she was cooperative, but going through, I think what she had gone through, it kind of played a little on it. But she was cooperative, however, she was still charged.
Can you tell us how long they both worked for this company and what their jobs were?
I believe they were live-in residence managers, but I'm not sure exactly.
That decision to make to fire at a person who just fired them, split-second decision. But is there a policy as far as shooting at a moving car, or is it just to eliminate the threat at that time?
Well, at that point in time, the attempted murder of that police officer had occurred with the subject firing at him. You have a danger to the public. You have somebody who is firing at a police officer in a moving car, leaving the scene of. At that point in time, the officers weren't really sure exactly what had happened, but they did certainly know that there was a gun involved in the store, and then the presentation of the gun and the firing of the gun at him. You have to make those split decisions as an officer, putting your life in jeopardy. And the officer did make that decision. And again, we're never pleased that use of forces need to be taken. You certainly don't want to take a life. You don't go into this job with the thought of taking the life. But based on the totality of this, it was fortunate, I believe, that the officer was there, took what he did, used deadly force, and was able to prevent who knows what occurred.
And again, the name of the officer and the spelling, just.
Sure, it is Brad, B-R-A-D-L-E-Y, Hudson, H-U-D-S-O-N. He is 44. He's 17 years on the street, 22 years with the sheriff's office.
Now, when you said, who was it that made the threat in the store saying, if you get in my way, I'll blow you up?
That was the mail.
And was that just to employees, to customers here? Was there any sort of panic at any time by customers inside the store?
I don't believe that there were any other customers that heard this. When he was confronted in the gun aisle is when the threat was made. He didn't make any threats as he walked in the store with the gun. However, he did refuse to cooperate. And when asked, we need to make sure the gun is loaded, he kind of looked back as he was on his mission and said, it is loaded. Again, that's caused them concern, as it should. And thankfully, they put their procedures in place, called 911. And the information, please understand that the information that they relayed to us along the line is crucial. As they're relaying his actions inside the store, his actions as he's leaving, their clothing description, the vehicle description, all that. As the officers are arriving, if they don't have that information, that truck can pass them and they wouldn't have a clue that that's not just another customer leaving. That's an important piece of it.
But he made it very clear if someone offered resistance, he's prepared to use his shotgun in the store.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And from statements that he made to Gill, that was his intent as well. That if anybody stood in his way, he didn't care who it was, he would take them out.
How long have they been in Jacksonville?
At least since 2006.
Any other questions?
Bottom line is you think that they could have been going back with loaded for bear to do some damage at the self-storage place?
Again, not really knowing his true intent, but it certainly seemed that way. I mean, like I said, you have 20 minutes after firing off this threatening email, their first stop is to purchase ammunition, and statements made that anybody gets in their way is going to be taken out. So, I hate to kind of put thoughts in his head, but that appeared to be where they were going.
All right. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.